Das Bintel Brief ist geschrieben geworden dem 24. November 1946.
All right, this Bintel Brief was written in the 24th of, I don't remember the month, but in 1946.
Zwei Briefe von Leser wegen der Frage von Landlord in tenants.
Right, 2 letters from the landlord and the tenants. Ask a question.
Ja. Ein Leserin und ein Leser und ein Landlady allein stimmt ein mit unserer auf die Landlord und ein zweiter Leser ist zweiter Brief ist gesandt von bloß teilweise enleiten unsere Ämpfer. Beide Briefe sind ein Beitrag zur Debatte, was hat sich entwickelt, der letzte im Bintel Brief wegen Landlords.
All right, I'm not sure I got that, but I think it's about the two readers are writing in about their landlord.
And the tenants.
And the tenants in, I guess, in the building.
Right. Ich will mich bemühen, du sagst sie, ich will mich bemühen, sie machen meinen Brief so kurz wie möglich.
I want to make this letter as short as possible.
Und kleine Lebenswenig zu dem Verwort und zu dem Bintelbrief. Und ein Dank für den Bintelbrief.
I didn't get the first part, but she's thanking the Bintel Brief for, I guess, reading this.
Sie dankt für den Bintelbrief zu erzählen.
To tell the story, okay. Thanking the Bintel Brief. Go ahead.
Ich bin nicht zu fragen, kein Eizer.
I need to ask an opinion.
No, ich komme nicht zu fragen, Eizer. I'm not asking.
I don't want to ask an opinion. I'm not sure.
Ich will nicht fragen.
I don't want to ask an opinion.
Ja, fragen. Ich habe nur gefragt bei euch als ein etliche Jahr zurück.
Okay, I did ask you an opinion several years past.
Ich bin gewesen, bevor man Hassene und mein jetziger Mann, so habe ich gewollt wissen, die Meinung von, was für eine Meinung ihr habt von dem Mann.
Okay, I wanted to know before my wedding to this man, what opinion you have of this man.
Was hat mich gebracht zu schreiben den Brief?
What has brought me to write this letter?
Ja. Was ich habe nicht lang zurück gelesen in Bintel Brief in der Zeitung.
Which I read not long ago in the Bintel Brief in the newspaper.
Right. Aber das erste muss ich mich bedanken für eure Entfer und für eure kluge Entscheidung, wo ihr getan.
But first, I want to thank you for your answer and for the smart advice that you give us.
Ich habe schon ein paar Mal gelesen Brief von unglücklichen Landlords, wo sie können nicht existieren mit den Gesetzen von Hand.
All right, I've read several times about unlucky landlords who can't exist with, and I'm assuming the tenants.
With the tenants Gesetze, laws, yes.
Okay.
wie von dem Brooklyn Landlord Nebuch, wo das von dem Brooklyn Landlord Nebuch.
And from the poor, Brooklyn landlord. Nebuch is poor thing.
Ich bin auch ein Landlord, aber ich bin nicht unglücklich.
I'm also a landlord, but I'm not unlucky.
Wir haben Cholile kein großes Apartment mit elevators und nur a kalter Flat mit billiger Rent.
We just have large apartments with elevators and a cold flat with cheap rent.
Aber so wie alles ist bei uns, jetzt aber bei uns ist alles in Ordnung.
But everything is okay, I guess, in our apartments.
Alles,
in order.
Alles, was ich nötig auch zu sagen, ihr sollt Cholile nicht umkommen zu keinem.
All right, everything that I would like for you to say, I don't want you to, Halila, how do we translate that?
That's Cholile.
You shouldn't have to ask anybody for, I guess, for anything. That you don't need to ask for, I guess, for help from anybody.
Alles, wie wir haben so lang, wie wir haben die Rente zu zahlen, ist schon alles geht.
As long as we have the money, the rent to pay, everything is good.
Aber wenn der Tenant kommt und verlangt ein bisschen, man soll ihn besser machen, sagen sie können das nicht stehen, weil sie können nicht Rente geben mit der Rente, mit der Rente.
Okay, but when the tenants come and they tell us that they can't pay because I guess they can't afford the rent.
Sie geben uns ein Eid, sie kauft es allein.
All right, they give us an opinion that they should buy what alone. I'm not sure what.
Wo sie Daten haben, sollen sie kaufen allein.
All right, so whatever they need to buy, they should buy by themselves.
Ja, wo sie verlangt von der Landlord, soll kaufen. Sagen sie, soll es kaufen allein.
All right, so they want something from the landlord, but apparently the landlord tells them to buy it by themselves. We don't know what that something is yet.
A groß Rachmunes auf ihn.
A bit, we're very sorry, and we feel for him.
Auch alle, auf a groß Rachmunes auf alle Landlords, that's sarcastisch.
Okay, he's very, I feel bad for all of the landlords, being sarcastic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sie haben sehr gute, schöne Häuser und so haben aber auch schlechte Häuser.
They have some very lovely houses, and then they have some schlechte, bad houses too.
Es wird gewesen, gut sich zu zeigen, wie sie schreiben, wegen der dosigen Angelegenheit über die Käse. Ich danke euch auch. Sie kommen jetzt, sie darüber klagen, also offene Schlieb die Gesetze, wo es gibt, because the Stadt sagt sie, wo sie können nicht rechnen.
All right, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the state tells them what they can't ask for, Is that like financially?
Yeah.
And those are the landlords? Or is that
No, the landlord was the renter, der
Yeah.
wohnt in Haus, kann ich gehen ergens anders, geht beten dem Landlord, soll mir nicht so viel rechnen für der Rent.
Okay, so it's the renter who goes to the landlord and says, please don't make me pay so much more for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And these must be houses where they're rent controlled. That's where the city comes in. They're probably rent controlled. No?
Yes, das hat ungehoben damals der Rentkontroll. Und das haben sie nicht lieb gehabt.
Oh, okay. So that is the case. They can't. The landlords didn't like the fact that these renters were asking for a lesser amount, or that they didn't want more because now these apartments were controlled.
Ich habe jenen Brief in alle Ämter gelesen, weil ich war nicht zu lassen, das Bintel Brief, und ich allein bin a landlady auch.
Okay, I guess this is a person who read the letter of another owner, another apartment owner, and she is also owns an apartment. She's also the landlady.
Yeah. Weil sie denken, als die Speise trennenden andere machen mehr, oder ja, sie sind eifersüchtig, weil die anderen Menschen machen mehr Geld wie sie.
All right. And now who is complaining that the other landlords are making more money than
No, a tenant is telling them that what bothers him. It tells them what it bothers them, that they can't, that the rent is much too high for them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Nicht wollt Ärger gewesen und gut schlecht, wenn sie gehen in Rechnen nur das, was der Mensch kann tun.
Or it wouldn't be so terrible if they just asked for the amount of money that a person could actually pay.
And this is gewesen a Frau from Brooklyn.
Okay.
And Huscheler Redaktor, this is a andere.
Okay, so that's the first letter from a tenant. Oh no, from a landlord. Okay. And now's another letter from another landlord.
No, this is nicht a landlord, this is a Frau, a Einwohnerin, a tenant.
Okay, all right.
Ich hab gelehnt in euer Bintelbrief, Abteilung über Gesetze und von der Landlord, welche sie beklugen sich, also sie machen nicht genug Geld.
Okay, I read in your Bintel Brief about the landlords who think that they're not making enough money.
Okay. Und mein Herz blutet für sie.
My heart breaks for them. I think that's sarcastic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Haha.
natürlich. Yeah. Für Finn, mit der Kuffel, wenn als sie meinen, sie wissen, der Betreffende von die Menschen, die es beklugt sich, sie hat a Grund.
All right, I didn't say it again, Judy.
He's investigating the one that makes a claim whether he has a right, whether he really has a reason to complain.
Okay.
Der Landlord machen ein Leben, der Landlord macht ein Leben bloß vom Rent oder macht andere Geschäfte.
Okay. Does the landlord make a living just from the rent, or is there anything else going on? Any other business?
Ja, aber als ein Landlord, was von Brooklyn sieht für andere, hat ein Haus für 4 Familien oder 2 Familienhaus. Und ich habe also ein Empfang, wer es geht für auch, ich werde verstehen die Antwort von dem auch.
Okay, so the landlord from Brooklyn has either, what is it, 2 families or
4 families.
or 4 families, and I'm going to give you an answer and you'll understand what is going on.
Erstens machen sie nicht kein Leben, das ist die Antwort. Erstens machen sie nicht kein Leben von dem Haus und sie haben eine Sachausgaben der Landlords.
Okay, they don't make a living from this house. They have a lot of I guess they have a lot of money that they have to spend.
Und sie pushen Arbeiter, sie kommen nach Hause, müssen sie gehen noch das Haus sauber zu halten.
And I think that when they come home from their work, they have to go now to this house and they have to, I guess, fix things or keep it up.
Sie tun, wenn die kommen nach Hause, gehen sie noch helfen, was jeder Einwohner braucht. Sollen sie nicht haben das Recht zu rechnen, ein paar Dollar mehr.
Right, when they come home and they have to go and take care of the things in the house that need upkeep, the renter shouldn't complain that they're asking for a couple more dollars.
Sie sind der Janitor allein.
They are the janitors on their own.
Die Lage von solchen Landlords ist nicht so glänzend.
I guess the life of these types of landlords is not so wonderful.
Vor der Malchume hat gekostet Keulen zu hieten ein 4-Zimmer-Haus hat gekostet $200. Hand kostet es $400 this house heiß. Wow.
Okay. Before the war, it would cost to buy the coal to heat a 4-room apartment. It would cost $200. But now after the war, the same coal costs $400.
Zu mulen ein 3-Zimmer-Haus hat gekostet $25 bis $30.
All right, before it to moon versus to moon. Oh, to paint a house would cost $25 to $30 for a 3-bedroom apartment, and now it costs
$60. Etwas zu fixen ein Haus kostet jetzt 4-mal mehr, wie es hat gekostet vor dem Krieg.
Now to fix something in the house, it costs 4 times more than it cost before the war.
Und die Rente ist geblieben dieselbe.
And the rent has stayed the same.
Gewesen kurz nicht, nur hat als ein Landlord gar nicht kein goldene Glitten.
So in short, this kind of landlord does not have a golden or wonderful life or good luck.
In dieser Lage sind die Landlords nicht berechtigt, sie ein bisschen mehr.
And in this situation, aren't the landlords do a little bit more,
Aber Gott gibt es Sympathie mit a good word.
or at least some sympathy and some positive words.
Man darf aber auch nicht empfehlen, die Menschen, man soll nicht sein, so streng zu sein.
All right, so when we answer these people, we shouldn't be so tough with them.
Sie ist es ist genug unangenehm, als das Herz und die alle Probleme.
It's enough that they have all these problems.
Keiner hat nicht sein Leben,
The Bintel Brief.
keiner hat nicht gemacht, sein Leben, hat es nicht geplant, sein Leben also.
Obviously, nobody has planned their life to be this way.
Aber der Landlord noch allein leben, muss auch leben, muss auch haben ein bisschen right, ein bisschen gerecht.
And the landlord also, originally before, I guess they were talking about the renter, nobody planned to have this kind of life, but the landlord also has the right to have a good life.
It's nicht gewesen, also glänzend, this whole thing. Okay, das ist die ganze Masse mit der Landlord, damit wir kennen.
Okay, that's the whole story with the landlords and the tenants. Ashenem Dank.
Es ist nicht zu verwusst, es ist gewesen, also glänzend geschrieben.
So what are we gonna have for dinner then?
What?
Chick- Yeah,
Same.
yeah. I told him we'll have leftovers on Sunday. We'll work it out.
All right, some people are muted. Judy, you're muted. No, Judy Lipskin, you're okay, all right.
Okay, if somebody's having leftovers on Sunday, so.
Yeah, we're all coming.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Judula. It sounds like the tenant-landlord conflict is as old as, pretty old. It still exists today, so.
And the arguments are the same as well.
Yeah.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we pay for this, we pay for that, so you pay the rent and we'll increase it.
However, the problem can often be that if it's a rent-controlled apartment, whether it's there in New York City or whether it's here, if like you have a two-family, if you don't make repairs, the tenant can go down to City Hall and report you, and the government can come in and force you to make the repairs when it's rent-controlled.
When it works.
Yeah, I think that they're talking about rent control, obviously, because they couldn't raise the rent.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So hat gerade ungeheuben mit der Rentkontrolle, so doch nicht gewesen im Volle, so
They just,
ungeheuben damals.
I'm surprised they had rent control in that year. What
Yeah.
year was the letter?
well, they just started. That's what.
Yeah, in the
that's what Anthony
40s.
said.
Yeah, because of the war, I think.
Mhm.
I know, maybe Peter knows different.
And I'm surprised that it's a cold flat. No
Cold
heat,
water. Cold
And-
water.
Cold water flat.
Yeah.
cold water flat, but they had heat then. Is that what you're
Mhm,
saying?
yeah.
Sure, don't you remember the coal cost twice as much as it did before the war?
No, the
Coal.
cold, but I don't
No, the coal
remember.
was for heating the apartment.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But
Gepokt und gemuselt.
But I think that was unusual for the 40s already, because my grandparents, when they
Yeah.
came here in the early part of the 20th century, they lived in a cold water flat on the Lower East Side.
okay, well, thank you, Judula. Thank you, Annette. I think we can move on now to our stand-up comedian. Roz Nesson has a Yiddish joke for us, and
Is she gonna stand?
Yeah, right.
Our stand-up comedian who sits.
I'm going to read this joke and I'm going to translate it sentence by sentence. But I'm going to come to one sentence that the words are so alien to me, and I'm sure they are to you. They're like new words of today, not the Yiddish I knew. And when it comes to that, I will translate every phrase. A Frau, 67 Jahre alt, hat gehabt a heart attack und man hat sie genommen zum Spital. A woman who was 67 years old had a heart attack and they took her to the hospital. Weil sie es gewinnt auf die operatische Tisch, hat sie gehabt a share nicht teut Überlebung. When she was on the operating table, she had a near-death experience. Sehende Gott, she saw God. Hat sie ihm gefragt, ist das schon mein Zeit? She saw God and she asked God if this is her time.
Right.
Hat Gott gesagt, nein. God said no. Du hast noch 30 Jahre, 2 Monaten und 8 Tage zu leben.
Wow.
You have 30 years,
8
2
months.
months and 8 days to live.
Okay.
Wenn sie ist gesund geworden, when she got better, hat die Frau beschlossen, zu stehen in Spital. When she got better, she decided to stay in the hospital, because now we're getting to those words I'm telling you. Und haben a Panim Unterheb, a facelift. She stayed in the hospital to have a facelift. Listen to this one. Schmalz Basetikum.
Oh, what?
Schmalz Basetikum. Liposuction. Brust einpflanzen. Breast implants.
Oh, God.
Und Bauch Reduction. Tummy tuck.
Ja.
Tummy tuck. Sie hat a Fille gehabt, mit sie soll reinkommen und einhärten ihr Haarfarbe. She had someone come in to color her hair und machen lighted ihr Zähne and light her and whiten her teeth.
Aha.
Denn sie hat a sehr viel mehr Zeit zu leben, since she has so much more time to live,
Right.
hat sie gerechnet, she thought, als sie wird das Eisnitzen bei diesem maximum. Since she had so much more time to live, she would make the most of it.
Okay.
Good idea.
Nach ihr letzten Operation, after her last operation, hat man sie rausgelassen von Spital. They dismissed her from the hospital. Gedenkt aheim ist sie rüber de Gas und gehargert geworden von einer Ambulance. When she was walking home, she was on the street and was run over by an ambulance.
Oh, I know.
Kommen dich vor Gott in Himmel. When she came to God in heaven, hat sie gefordert. Ich hab gedenkt, als du hast gesagt, als ich hab noch 30 Jahre zu leben.
Yeah.
When she came to God in heaven, she asked him, I thought you said I had 30
Right.
more years to live.
I
But
know.
was hast du mir nicht rausgeschleppt von Weg von dem Ambulance? Why didn't you remove me from the path of the ambulance? Hat Gott geantwortet, ich hab dir nicht erkannt.
Right.
I didn't recognize you.
Right.
Very good. Where did you get this, Roz?
Judy sent it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
Judy.
mean, I've heard it in English. It's fun in Yiddish.
Well, those
So Judy, I
words,
have a joke too.
Thank you, Roz. I think
Well
you-
done.
you have a new career ahead of you.
I was going to say, don't give up your day job.
Judy, I have a joke too.
Okay.
Oh.
Who is this?
Claire.
Okay, go, Claire.
A man could nehmen spazier and he gesehen a Freund. The Freund schon gestanden auf dem Railroad track. For was stehst du auf dem Railroad track? He said, he said, du kennst werden gehargert. He says, das will ich tun. And the friend said, why? For was willst du das tun? He said, meine Weiber kriegst mit me, meine Kinder kriegst mit meine Weiber, the Arabs kriegst mit the Israelis. You know, the andere Mann gesehen that the Freund getragt a Halle zugedeckt behind. He said, for was tragst du a Halle? He said, kannst du sterben vom Hunger, bis der Train bist kommen?
Would you translate
I
it?
didn't get it.
You need to,
Get it.
you need to translate it, please.
Yeah.
It blocked out a little.
A man took a walk in Israel.
Yeah.
And he came upon a friend of his who was standing on a railroad track. He said, why are you standing on the railroad track? You can get killed standing there. He said, that's what I want to do. He said, why? He said, because I'm exhausted from my wife fighting with me, my children fighting with my wife, the Arabs fighting with the Israelis. Nothing is ever peaceful. But the friend noticed that the guy standing on the railroad track was carrying a little bread, a little challah under his arm. So he said, why are you carrying the challah? He said, because you can starve to death until the train comes.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Jewish humor.
Okay, so
Very good.
talking about food, we're going to move on to food. And Judy is going to start off with telling us a little food story from her past. Go, Judula.
Unfortunately, about food, about lack of the food, I will tell you something about the camp, which is unfortunately not a joyous story. When we came to Auschwitz, of course, when we came to Auschwitz with my parents and with children, everybody had their family. But as we came out of the cattle car, we were standing in line, the women separate and the men separate. In the women's line was my mother, my sister, my niece, myself, and my nieces and my aunt's 3 little children. And the men, there was my father, my brother-in-law, my uncle, my nephew, and another man. And till jeder ist heruntergekommen und sind wir gestanden in der Line und gewartet. Und dann noch hat man gesagt, man kann langsam gehen zu dem Front, zum Front. Und dann sind wir gekommen, in meine Reihe sind wir gestanden für Dr. Joseph Mengele. Efter hat jemand gewusst, wer ist. Ist gewesen, der macht Mobus von dem Camp. Sind wir gekommen mit Stämme für ihn. Und hat gehabt einen langen Stecken und hat gezeigt, zu meiner Nichte zu gehen zu links und mir zu gehen zu der links. Und der Rest sind gegangen auf rechts. Wir sind gegangen auf links und sie sind gegangen zu der Tod. Und wenn ich bin durchgegangen, wie meine Tate ist gestanden in der Linie, hat darauf gelegt seine Hände auf den Kopf und hat gesagt, Judy, die ist Leben. Das ist gewesen das letzte Wort, was ich habe gehört von meinem Vater und was ich habe gesehen, meine Mama. Aber ich will nicht gehen zu dem Ganzen und wir reden, was haben wir gekriegt. Da haben wir gekommen, die, was man ausgewählt, die hat benutzen zum Arbeiten. So sind wir gegangen, eine ganze Schule sind wir gegangen bis zum nächsten Berg.
Translate that. I didn't get that.
After the selection.
Yeah.
Those that went to the gas chamber and those that were there to stay to work.
Right.
So let me just point out, the entire camp is surrounded with barbed wire. If you touch it, you get electrocuted. And we were talking, so should I continue in Yiddish?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Und in sind wir gestanden und der ganze Camp ist gewesen vergrößert mit elektrischen Draht. Der erste ist unstarbste. Keiner hat nicht gesagt, uns haben wir nicht gewusst, wusste, wie mir geht. Dann sind wir gegangen in eine Shower, haben wir gekriegt ein Tusch. Nachdem haben wir gekriegt ein Kleid, gar nicht keine Unterwäsche, nur ein lang Kleid in ein pur holzene Schuh.
Okay, translate that. After the shower, you got something long.
They got some clothes. Okay.
Just a gray dress and
Okay.
a pair of wooden clogs. Und me stehen wir und wir warten. Und kommt es schon gewesen 4 Säger in der Nachmittag und wir gehen marschieren. Dort neben uns ist der Draht, elektrische Draht, die erste und starbste. Und ein paar Mädels sind gegangen und sie haben umgerührt und sind gefallen sofort. Und wir gehen ein ganzes Schuh. Da haben wir gekommen in einen großen Barack. 1400 Mädels sind junge Frauen. Die älteste Person ist nicht gewesen älter wie 35 Jahre. Hat genommen Menschen, wo sie können arbeiten. Das ist gewesen sein Ziel. So sind wir dort gekommen und es ist gewesen, also wie ein Bookcase. 1 Reihe, 2 und 3. Und die, die sind gewesen oben, haben gehabt Luft, aber die anderen haben nur gehabt, das Spunum steckt da raus. Und was haben wir getan? Den Tag sind wir gekommen in der Früh, haben wir nicht gehabt, schon 3 Tage an Essen. Und da haben wir auch nicht gekriegt, gar nicht kein Wasser, nicht kein Essen. Und sind wir so hungrig, und sind wir so bitter. Und du ist der terrible stink von Reich.
Could you, Judy, would you translate as you go along,
Yeah.
please?
If you don't know what it means, ask. And uns haben wir gefragt,
You want me to do it?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would be good.
Keep going, Judy.
was ist der Räuch also? Du sollen deine Eltern brennen.
They came and they smelled something. And they asked, what is this terrible smell?
Right.
And they said, that's your relatives, the older people burning.
Those are your parents burning.
Parents burning.
Und sind wir jetzt gekommen, gar nicht kann essen, und man liegt auf Breiter, nur Breiter, gar nicht dort, man liegt auf der Breit, und sechs Frauen auf ein Stickel, so groß wie der Tisch.
They didn't eat, they didn't get anything to eat, and they slept like on a bed. Oh, I don't know if you want to call it a bed, but like 8 girls or young women slept together all across.
Ja, alles nur Breiter, Holz. Gar nicht dort, ich kann andere Sachen. Und
Just pieces of wood, just wooden boards.
Yeah, like planks.
Yeah.
Boards. Und so haben wir gut nicht gegessen, wir sind so hingere, gut nicht. In der Früh sagt man, wir müssen gehen raus und wir sagen, gezählt. 5 Menschen in einer Reihe, 5 Frauen.
In the morning, they went out. They were so hungry. They said they had to line up 5 women in a line.
In a row.
In a row.
Und man steht und man wartet. Kommt der größte Offizier, Dr. Joseph Mengele.
They stand and they waited and waited, and there comes Dr. Joseph Mengele.
und kickt Tomer Emetzer ist blass. Und nimmt him raus und mit käme mehr nicht sehen.
He looks at everyone, and I think it means if anyone is pale,
Right.
he then takes them out, and you don't see them again.
Noch stehen so viele Stunden, geht man auf der Toilette. Ist es sehr gut, aber es ist nur ein Breitel und ein groß Grieb.
Translate that, the bathroom, translate that.
That's the bathroom with a little wooden board, and you sit one next to the other. Of course, there is a deep anyway. In mir sitzt dort. Schon nachdem kämen gehen, kriegen ein bisschen Wasser. Haben sie gegeben ein klein Papier Täpperle. Und man geht nehmen, hat ihn gegeben so viel Wasser. No, hat man sofort getrinkt, man hat schon 2 Tage gar nicht gehabt und mal. Geht man das. Und nachdem geht man zurück auf im großen Zimmer und man geht auf der Koje. Das hat geheißen eine Koje. Es ist gewesen wie 3 Stufen. Die, wo sind oben gehabt, der Luft, die andere.
Translate.
I think what she's saying is, after they got a little bit of water in a paper cup or something, paper bowl, and they went back to the room, the big room, and the big room had 3 levels like bunk beds.
Right.
And only the people in the top bunk got some air.
Right.
Und man wart gar nicht den ganzen Tag. Man ist so hängerig, so was haben wir getan, immer gehen, immer machen, immer kochen. So man sitzt, es gewesen auf der eine Reihe, es gewesen meine Nichte, ich und 2 andere Mädchen von meiner Stutt.
Wait, Judy, let me catch them up. So they were hungry. They hadn't eaten, so they said they're going to cook. And I think maybe her niece and some other young women from her town.
Und haben ungeheubt zu kochen, because man sehr hungrig und man kocht. So, eine sagt, wieso man macht, wir haben eine Polenta, because das ist leicht zu kriegen. Und man machen Polenta. Und eine sagt, no, ich mache Polenta, man kocht es mit Milch. Und eine sagt, no, man kocht es mit anderen. Und man kocht. Und man denkt, als man redet von dem Kochen, wird man nicht viel in dem Hunger so stark. Gut nicht gekriegt denselben Tag wieder. Den nächsten Tag.
Judy,
Wait a minute.
Judy, I think it's a confusion. Did they really cook, or they just
They were
talked about
pretending.
cooking?
We talked about.
They talked about
They
cooking.
were pretending.
polenta.
Right. What we would have done, what we wish we had. And the next day, or should I say it in English? No.
No,
No,
in
Yiddish.
Yiddish.
Say it in Yiddish.
Nächsten Tag in der Früh geht man Zählappell. Das ist Roll Call. Du stehst wieder in draußen. 5 Menschen, einem noch den zweiten, und man steht stundenlang. Man wartet, und der Dr. Joseph Mengele kommt jeden Tag. Tomara sagt, eine sieht sehr blass aus, raus, und man sieht die Person mehr nicht. Und sie geht sofort, wird sie genommen in das Krematorium.
The next day, same thing, they had to line up in rows of 5, and Dr. Mengele came and looked, and if someone was pale, they wound up in the crematorium.
Gut nicht den ganzen Tag wieder, aber noch Mittag nimmt man 2 Mädchen von jeder Kategorie und man sagt, sie gehen bringen Essen. So haben sie genommen die starke, junge Mädchen. So sind wir gegangen about a mile und wir kommen dort dahin. Und dort sind umgestellt Metallkübel, Metal metal
All right.
container.
They took two girls from every category in the big room that they could go and they're gonna get food for the rest of the girls.
Right.
Zwei Mädel, zwei junge Frauen oder Mädel.
Right.
Und wir kommen dort dahin, wir gehen in dem größten Kübel und wir tropfen. Es ist sehr schwer, weil das ist genick für 300 Mädel.
Wow.
So bringt man das heran in den größten Zimmer und man nimmt a table.
And
A
we,
plain
what?
table.
And there was there a dish, like a dish.
A metal,
A klein table. En me geht es dort bei der Tür und die deutsche Capo nimmt zwei von unseren Mädchen, Frauen, und sagt, ihr zerteilen das Essen. So, insofern schön, die, was haben gebringt das Essen, gehen schon zurück, wie sie gewähnt, und dort zwei andere. Und jeder steht in Line und man wartet auf dem Essen. So haben wir es gebracht in der Früh, und bis 5 Uhr Säger ist noch Thomas nicht gewähnt, jeder hat noch gut nicht gehabt.
Translate.
They all waited in line to get
All
this
day.
food that was brought to the big room. There was enough for 300 people, but I think there was one dish. So it took so long that they brought it in the morning, and at 5 o'clock, people were still waiting for their food.
Aber in Auschwitz haben wir noch nicht gekriegt, gut nicht. Jetzt haben wir nicht gehabt, kein Teller oder gut nicht. So haben sie es gegeben in ein Papier, eine kleine Schüssel. Und hat gegeben ein bisschen Suppe von dem, und du gehst zurück, auf wie du bist gewesen.
In Auschwitz, there was no dish or anything. They gave it in a paper, I don't know if it's even a bowl, but a paper
Like a cup,
something,
A little
a
bit.
paper cup, and you got a little soup in that paper cup, and then you went away.
So wir gehen zurück dort, und das ist das Ganze, was wir kriegen. So wusste man, wenn man noch so hingere, so kocht man. No, sagt sie, ich gehe machen dem Cake, und ich machen das Brot, und ich machen, was man gekannt, gedenkt, hat man gekocht. Und jeder hat gesagt, ich fühle das besser, because ich habe gegessen.
Mhm.
Let me translate that, Judy. They were still hungry from this little soup. So each young woman discussed, I'm baking bread or I'm baking cake, and they felt better after they felt like almost they were eating that imaginary food.
Imaginary, exactly. Wir sind so hingeregt, aber wenn man redet von dem, jetzt geben schlafen, außen kann gut nicht, außen kann Pillow, außen kann Blanket, gut nicht, nur ein holzernen Platz. So legst du einer und man hält sich hin, because es ist warm, aber der Hals dann immer Nichte. Ich bin gewesen mit meiner Nichte zusammen die ganze Zeit.
There was no pillow, no blankets, nothing but this wooden board, and you try to snuggle with, like she had her niece, I think,
Yeah.
was the person she snuggled with to keep warm.
Und so haben wir nicht kein Haar, sondern der Haar ganz
You
runter.
didn't have any hair, and the hair was taken out.
Alles runter. In der Mitte der Nacht, der erste Nacht, sind etwa 15 Mädchen Mischige geworden. Sie haben geschrien, und sie haben geschlagen andere Menschen, denn sie haben verloren das Gehirn.
After the first night, I guess, 15 young women
went crazy.
went crazy, they lost it, yeah.
Right. I
And
was-
they screamed things and they fought with other ones and so forth.
Ein nervous breakdown. Und oder ist herangekommen der Offizier und hat gesagt, als das nicht bleiben still, wird der ganze Camp geht in Krematorium. So jeder hat gehalten, die andere reden nicht, weinen nicht, schreien nicht, sagen nicht, gut nicht, because die weiß nicht, die Menschen weghargen.
when the commander came, they said, if you continue to make this noise, the whole bunk is going to the crematorium. So they held each other's lips so the sounds of their crying or whatever should not come out.
Es ist so gewesen, junge Mütter, wo so haben weggegeben, sehr kleine Kinder für ihre Mütter. Und so haben geschrien, ich habe mein Kind gehargert, because so haben uns gesucht. Die seist dem ruhig, das ist von der Krematorium, dort, uns haben wir gepflegt. Wie sind unsere Mamas? Sagen sie, seist, kick der und dem ruhig, seist dem ruhig, du sollen sie. Sie sind schon dort gewesen, 2-3 Jahre, in dem wir jetzt gekommen. Sagen sie, die bis jetzt gekommen, die bis, uns haben wir schon gelitten.
What's that? What's that? Some of the mothers said they killed their children.
Well, they didn't kill their children, but the children were
They
put in
gave
the
them away.
crematorium.
What
By
I thought they covered their mouth, but what if she just said something else?
She said, what happened is, the children, some of the young women that were with us, that Mengele picked them out to work, they handed over the babies to their mother. And they were able to get, because they warned us, give the child away to your mother. Don't hold the little girl by her hand, because they knew that if anybody looks fairly healthy, they're gonna be picked to go to work and not to be into the gas chamber. So they warned them. And now a young mother that handed over her baby to the grandmother, she says, I killed my baby. I gave it to the cat. It's impossible. But what I want to, I don't want to make you a very sad day, but what I brought out, that when we were in the camp, and the hunger was unbelievable. The hunger you cannot explain. So you say, and with us talking about all kind of recipes, we felt that we get some satisfaction.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, I guess, but that's what we did. And I was there 6 weeks in Auschwitz. And when we heard, we were taken to take a shower. Well, the hygiene was great. We had a shower once a week, which was great. But very often, if Mengele picked too many people to stay, they never came back from the shower. They just went to the gas chamber. So, but talking about food, that's what we did in all the time in the camp, the whole time. We talked and we cooked and we baked in our mind and talk about it. So the recipes that we had, if somebody, there was one Czech woman, later on we had nothing, but I don't know where in another camp, she got a pencil and she wrote a book, after she was liberated, a book about the recipes from the KZ, from the concentration camp.
Wow.
But I don't want to tell you more about it, but what we did is we cooked, and we thought that our hunger will disappear from talking about that. Sorry about that. Thank you for listening.
Survival, the way you survived.
It's
Thank you for
amazing
telling us.
that you're here today with us, what you went through and how you survived.
But
Amazing.
the hunger was unbelievable. And then there were many of the girls that had their mother. And then I said, I am so happy I did not take my mother, that I did. If you have to watch that, what happens they didn't last long, the mothers, they died very shortly. And you know what else? The first night, more people went berserk. They really went out of their mind.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
How old were you, Judy? I don't
I
remember.
was 18 already, almost
18?
I was, yes. But there were 12 and 13. If they were tall and healthy looking, some of them were 12 and 13-year-old ones.
I don't understand, and I guess I will never understand. since they gave you so little, how anyone had the strength to live as long as they did.
And to
without
work.
eating.
How did they get the
And to
strength
work.
It's surprising. Well, later on, when we were 6 weeks, we were in Auschwitz, my group. And then we were in other parts of Germany. There we worked in factory, but going to work, we could pick up some green thing on the street or something from the garbage or so. There was a little more lean, but Auschwitz was, when we came out of Auschwitz, we were skin and bone, literally just skin and bone, because all you got is a little bit of soup in a dish every night and one slice of bread a week, which is 4 inches.
Yeah, the Nazis calculated that if they had 500 calories a day, they could survive. That's what I was told.
Well, I don't know whether, probably it might have been, but bread, in the beginning in Auschwitz, once a week, we got a little piece of bread. So now, you know, when I come to your house, I like bread. Do you remember that?
I love bread, yeah.
Still do.
Well, my friend was in Bergen-Belsen, and she said that when they gave them the soup was, you know, had a little potato in it and was full of weevils, and they ate the weevils because it was protein. You know, they had nothing else to eat.
Oh, I want to tell you what happened to me. That was in another camp, not in Bergen-Belsen, in Essen. There was one girl from my hometown who got she was the one to be near the kettle of food. So she put in, and you stand in line. At that time, you had a dish already. So I stand there, and there is a girl from my hometown, Annika was her name. And I came there and I said, Annika, could you go a little deeper? Maybe a little thicker soup will come out. I will not. I said, and why wouldn't you? For me and for my niece. She says, I will not. I said, and why wouldn't you? Because your brother dated me and then he dropped me. When I came back from the camp and I found out that he's alive, he was in a different camp. I said, Manny, I almost lost my portion for the day because of he didn't give Anita any, didn't date her any further.
Isn't that something in a camp to be so petty?
Petty,
Really?
yeah.
Petty under those circumstances. You would think people would get be above it at that point.
It was just unbelievable. And hunger, you know, hunger is something, it's unbelievable to bear. So
Well,
now,
thank you, Judy, for sharing. Quite unbelievable to hear how man's inhumanity to man is so incredible. I don't know if anyone wants to follow with a recipe at this point. Is there anyone that wants?
I don't have any.
Yeah, we want to hear recipes now because we want to eat.
Who wants to talk about food and anybody want to share any food thoughts?
I just have a
Shirley.
question. I wanted to bring a recipe for my baba ganoush, and I looked in 2 Yiddish dictionaries, and I could not find the word eggplant. Wie sagt man eggplant in Yiddish?
I'm sorry, did you ask?
Eggplant. How do you say
Eggplant.
Eggplant?
Eggplant.
I don't, glaube nicht, it's aber gehabt Eggplant in Czech Republic.
Yeah, well,
The
Andre,
Romanian word for it.
yeah, Andre Brooks had a
Yeah.
lecture about food among the Jews.
Yes.
And eggplant was a Jewish food in certain countries. They had
Yeah.
eggplant.
In the Sparta countries. I'm
Yeah.
gonna look it up right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Rosalind.
I think it's something like Petrogel in Romanian.
Oh, but the point she made, I mean, obviously people ate what they had in those countries. But the point she made was that the conversos who, you know, pretended they were Catholic, but really wanted to make Jews, remain Jews, would cook at home and use olive oil instead of lard. So the neighbors, the Christian neighbors, could smell the olive oil and they would report them to the authorities as being Jews.
Oh.
And
I mean,
also, she also said that the Jews ate eggplant a lot, and that made them suspect also that they.
Well, because they knew that's what the Jews ate.
Yeah, but the non-Jews, it was not common for non-Jews
Right,
to eat eggplant.
right. Yeah.
They've now done they've now done a study in South America, especially in Argentina, that about 35% of the people who live in Argentina now actually came from the conversos.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, she said that. Okay, Shirley, you raised your hand. Shirley raised her hand. What do you want to say, Shirley? You have to unmute.
Where is
Shirley.
she?
She's got to unmute.
I don't see her.
When she talks, you'll see her.
Where'd she go?
Maybe
She's working on unmuting. We don't hear you, Shirley.
Oh, here.
Oh, there's a lot of people here.
Here she is, but she's, yeah.
You have to unmute, Shirley.
I
Oh.
don't see her.
We don't hear you.
Isn't she here?
Oh, there I see her.
She's talking, but we don't hear. Okay. She can't unmute. Is there anyone else that wants to say anything?
So may I say about eggplant translation?
Yes.
I found translation. It's their patlıcan.
Yes, I heard the same word, patlıcan.
Patlıcan or the air broisbit. Anerginet.
That's like
Aubergine.
It's like aubergine. It's close to
Yeah, like aubergine. Yeah, it's aubergine. Aubergine. Yeah.
Can you spell it?
Aubergine.
aubergine. That's French.
Aubergine. Yeah.
But
Aubergine.
The first one she said is the one that I found as well, not the aubergine,
Thank you
but
very much.
Patlıcan. Yeah.
patlıcan. Yes.
Thank you very much.
May I ask, you said something before that I missed. 35% of people from Argentina. What about them?
They can trace their roots back to being part of the conversos. In other words, they were originally Jews who emigrated after 1492 when we had the expulsion. So they say 35% of the Jews who live in Argentina can trace their roots back to being Jewish originally in Spain.
Really? Because I thought most of them went to Greece and that part of the world.
Many did. As a matter of fact, when I was at Oxford University studying, I did a paper on the fact that how the economies of Morocco and Greece and Turkey all improved after the Jews were expelled from Spain. They went to these countries and all their economies boomed.
Who's talking? I can't see anything. Who's speaking?
Claire.
It was Claire.
Oh, I have a seamstress in Darien who has a Hispanic last name, and she and was raised Catholic, but wasn't a big believer. And I don't know where she went, but a man said to her, "You're Jewish, you're a converso," because he recognized the last name, and that particular last name indicated a Hispanic Jew.
And what's the name?
And now she's studying Judaism. What's her name? I mean, I have to look it up.
And
I mean,
she lives in Darien. That's funny.
She works in she works in Darien. No, that's where her thing is.
How about Gonzalez?
I don't know.
No, that's, are you kidding? That's so common.
There's a lot of people in Mexico City whose name is Gomez that are Jewish.
Oh,
Really?
her last name is Carvajal, Carvajal.
Well,
I mean, there must be so many people that were affected, you know, we just didn't know.
My next door neighbor, when I lived in Queens, their last name was Carvajal. And they were-
Really?
Yep.
And where was that?
In Queens, when I lived in Queens
Oh.
for a period of time.
Were they
Oh,
Jewish? Were they Jewish?
They were, as far as I knew, they were not Jewish. But if
But they didn't know.
they didn't know they were Jewish, maybe just didn't know, but
Yeah.
their name is
Too bad you didn't know then.
Do any of you watch Henry Louis Gates' Finding Your Roots?
I
Yeah.
watch that all the time. Yes.
It's a fascinating thing. I was watching it once where they had Louis Black on, and they traced his roots,
Yeah.
and his name was Farts, and they gave him
Farts.
his-
Yeah, he's a comedian, in case people
Right,
don't
right.
know that.
Now
I don't know.
it went.
Oh, Louis Black, I didn't hear.
Louis Black.
Oh, that he has Jewish relatives?
He's
Totally.
Jewish.
He's
Oh, he's
Jewish.
Jewish. Oh,
But
okay.
his ancestry, how the name Black came to be part of him.
Okay, anybody have any other food that they want to contribute, or a recipe, or anything they want to say?
I can't say it in Yiddish.
Okay, well, thank you so much for,
and thank you, Judy.
and Alyssa, did you want to say anything?
Is Judy still on? Or has Judy said bye-bye?
Who is this?
That's Sandy asking if Judy is still on.
Well, Judy is still here, and we were just going to say goodbye. Did you want to say something?
I think I heard you say you were from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
She
what
said she heard that you were from Czechoslovakia.
Yes, I was. I am.
Have you ever heard of a dish called Schlishkis or Schlishkelas?
What is the name?
Schlishkelas. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's potato and you roll it
Oh,
out.
Schlishkes. Yes, that's very good. That's excellent. Well, you wanted a fast recipe for it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come to your house.
Well, it's that wonderful Schlishkes, but you could fill it with confiture, with lekvar. You know what lekvar is?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And you can fill it with that, and then serve it with breadcrumbs and butter. Oh, it's very good.
Mm.
We're getting hungry.
So what is
Okay, well, with the lekvar, I thank you. Do we have time for homework? Remember the homework?
Oh, all right.
Did anyone do the homework?
Room butter.
Tell us the words and we'll translate them.
Oh, the words. Okay, here we go. Homework. Yankel hat a große Stube.
Yeah, he has a big
Jack
stove.
has a big house.
Well,
Oh,
Vermacht die Fenster.
Close the window.
close the window.
Ich faden a Sackgeld.
you earn a lot of money.
Ich faden a Sackgeld.
Verdien. Ich verdiene.
Adin.
Yeah, right.
Verdien. Ich verdiene a Sackgeld. Ich arbeite bei Tony's Pizza.
I work at the Tony's Pizza.
Ich arbeite in einer großen Fabrik.
I work in a big factory.
Oh,
Wir sei spürt zu sich.
How?
Wir sei spürt zu sich.
Where are you going? Is that
No.
correct?
Spear? What's that other word?
Here's a
Spürst
Spirstu.
spürst du.
Yeah, Spirstu means go.
Where are you going?
Where are you
Well,
going?
Traveling to.
according to the book, it's how are you feeling?
Oh,
Wie also spürst du dich?
Okay, yeah, that's
Maybe
right.
I don't say it right.
Okay.
That's the homework. You all got excellent.
So Judy, I will say that, and Judy, and what an amazing afternoon to spend, to see so many wonderful people and to hear everything from Judy, from the Bintel Brief, and from your own life, and to hear the recipes. Wow, I am hungry now. If you're interested in the Jewish world of Alexander Hamilton, that's the next Jewish Historical Society
Yeah.
talk on February 9th. I think it's the 3rd. Yeah, at 7, but it's in the evening.
Yeah.
Is it? When?
So there's a controversy about whether or not he's Jewish. You know, they said he knew Hebrew or he went to a school, but they're not sure. And maybe his mother, this, that, and the next thing.
Maybe we find out on February 9th.
But I will tell you this. He had a Yiddish cup.
I thought it was the 16th.